Linguistic relativity. It is also one of the very important topics of your course, Translation Studies, and it has been repeated repeatedly in your past papers. So we will deal it as a separate topic as well as a topic from your past papers. If we see its short history, the main names which are popular when we talk about linguistic relativity are Sapir and Whorf. Sapir gave this idea in 1929 and he actually gave the hypothesis and which was followed by Whorf's writings in 1950s. And Noam Chomsky and his followers, they were the people who had greatest attacks and they were completely opposite of this hypothesis. So now it is believed by most linguists only in a weak sense that if language has any effect on thought, it is very small. It doesn't have very large impact on human thought. And even if it does, it is in very small proportions. Let's have a brief introduction of Edward Sapir. He was an American anthropologist linguist. He was a leader in American structural linguistics. Most of his work is on structural linguistics. He has a very famous book, Language: An Introduction to the Study of Speech. He was born in Germany and he was the student of Franz Boas, teacher of Benjamin Whorf. Let's have little introduction of Benjamin Lee Whorf as well. He graduated from MIT in 1918 with a degree in chemical engineering, and shortly afterwards he began to work as a fire prevention engineer. Although he met and later studied with Edward Sapir, he never took up linguistics as a profession. His area of interest was linguistics and especially study of Native American languages. He became quite well known for his work on his Hopi language. He was believed to be a very captivating speaker and did much to popularize his linguistic ideas through popular lectures and articles written to be accessible by lay readers. His writings had such a language, such an expression, which was more easily understandable by a common man. So let's see what actually the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis and how it is related with linguistic relativity. In linguistics, Sapir-Whorf hypothesis states that there are certain thoughts of an individual in one language that cannot be understood by those who live in another language. They strictly believe in context. They strictly believe in the physical environment of a language. The way people learn and speak one language according to their thoughts, that impact also is prevalent on their other functions of life. The way they see the world, the way they live, and the way they have their thought process. This hypothesis states that the way people think is strongly affected by their native languages. It is a controversial theory championed by linguist Edward Sapir and his student Benjamin Whorf. Let's go deep into the linguistic relativity principle. It holds that the structure of a language affects the ways in which its respective speakers conceptualize their worldview, or otherwise influences their cognitive processes. And it is popularly known as Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. So it is known as Sapir-Whorf hypothesis or Whorfianism, and the principle is often defined as having two versions. This theory is believed to have two versions. Number one is strong version, that language determines thought and the linguistic categories limit and determine cognitive categories. And the weak version, that linguistic categories and usage influence thought and certain kind of non-linguistic behavior. So these two opinions, there are two versions according to one, that language determines thought, language controls thought, how we think, and linguistic categories limit and determine cognitive categories. And the way we use language, the way we perceive language, that actually controls or affects how we understand the world around us. And according to the weak version, linguistic categories and usage actually has impact on thought and certain kind of non-linguistic behavior, not only our thought process but also other things, the way we think, the way we maybe conceptualize any reality, the way we perceive things, or anything that we do that is influenced by language. The term sapir-Whorf hypothesis is a misnomer, as Edward Sapir and Benjamin Lee Whorf never co-authored anything. They professionally, or you can say officially, did not write anything together, and they never stated their ideas in terms of hypothesis, but it is a casual way of stating their theories and their thoughts. The distinction between a weak and strong version of hypothesis is also a later invention. This difference was established later on, as Sapir and Whorf never set up a dichotomy. They did not divide their theory into strong and weaker version. They were the later researchers who actually categorize two parts of their theory into two categories. Linguistic relativity is the relationship among language, culture, and thought. They do not see language just as a linguistic behavior or the linguistic competence, but the way we live their life, the way they perceive things, the way they make relations with people, or anything they can do physically or emotionally or spiritually, what they can perceive, that is affected by their language. And that has been proven by researchers through different types of experiments. Thus, it is concluded that the idea that all thought is constrained by the language has been disapproved, and the opposite idea, that language does not influence thought at all, it is also widely considered to be false. There are two schools of thoughts. According to one, language controls everything we do or everything we can do. So according to researchers, that cannot be true. It can be true partially, but on the other hand, the other school of thought which believe that language do not at all influence anything that we can do apart from linguistic functions, that is also not accepted by the researchers. So partially the both ideas are true and wrong.